is a man who describes himself as a professional boxer who loves fighting, fast cars, fast bikes, and the finer things in life. Welcome, Ryno, the Lion Liebenberg.
What's up, how you doing?
Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Your Twitter handle says professional boxer. So does that mean you haven't retired yet?
No, I've retired, so I'll change that. I just haven't gotten to it.
Retiring, difficult decision for you to make?
Hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life. So retiring from boxing when there's nothing wrong with you and there's not, you physically you fit, mentally you fit, but it's time, you know, in boxing one punch changes your life, brain injuries forever. So you have to come to a point where you make that call, listen, yeah, I'm not going to gain anything, I'm not going to achieve anything more than I've already done. So it's time to call it. Focus on the family, business, and life.
Were you taking a lot of those type of punches towards the end of your career?
I do think more than I should have unnecessarily. So as you get to the end of your career, you don't train as hard, you don't put in so much work because you've got other priorities. I've got 3 kids, my wife's pregnant, I'm having my 4th kid in June. I've got a business, so I've got a family to take care of. So you don't put in the work that you're supposed to do, and then you start taking unnecessary shots.
4th kid? Might see you making a comeback for school fee money.
Never. I'll teach my sons how to box and then they must make money.
You've always been known to be a guy who has a great support base, from your family to your brother-in-law Neil to everyone at ringside. How important was that for you in your boxing career?
Very important. So I've always had a business and boxing on the side. So I've done both at the same time. So when I do boxing or take off for camp, I had Neil to run the business, look after things, check everything. And it made the world of difference. When I traveled overseas, Neil was my go-to guy. So when you sit in a room pulling weight, he gets my food, he gets the water. Now, in boxing, you get in the ring by yourself. And in those 3 minutes, you're there by yourself. But if you don't have people behind you, you're never going to make it.
How difficult was it having a boxing career and running a business outside of the ring?
So it's not easy, but I think the structure around it did help me because I knew I had to work. I knew I couldn't play, couldn't stuff around. I had to work, I had to train, I had to gym. And the structure kept me on the straight and narrow and kept me in my place.
So you say you had to work. Could you not have made a living and supported a family just from boxing alone?
You can, you can, but I already had a girlfriend, a house, a family, a business before I started boxing. So all those things were already in place. So I couldn't just give it up and start boxing. Boxing came after all those things. I turned pro at 27. So my life was set, and then I started boxing.
Where did the love for boxing start?
So I was a proper athlete in school. I was never the best, but I did everything. I played rugby, athletics, cricket, you name it, I did it. And then when I went to grade 8 or standard 6, I weighed 37 kilograms. Now you want to play rugby against guys who weigh 80, who already hit people. You can't. I don't care what you know, you're not big enough. So I told my father, I said, listen, yeah, I want to box. Because he was a boxer, an amateur boxer. So he took me to Krugersdorp West Boxing Club. The guy was the main trainer there, Frikkie Gous. My father taught him how to box, so they were amateurs together. And yeah, he said, listen, yeah, I want to box. I did the training, and he said, okay, tonight's sparring. I'm like, okay. I told my father, what nice? He said, just get in there and bang it. I said, okay. I got in there and banged it. I probably got moved. I can't really remember. It was a long time ago. But I enjoyed it immensely. And that's all she wrote.
Were you any good at amateur?
Yeah, I was a proper amateur, like the real deal. First year of boxing, I won the Masekane games. I think I had 11 fights with 1 loss. So I think with 8 knockouts, if I can remember correctly. Second year, I went to essays. Third year, I went to essays. So in 3 years, I went to essays twice, Gautengs, West Gautengs, all of that. The 4th year, grade 11, got a bike, like I like bikes and cars. And then I fell with my bike and I broke my arm, shattered it. And they said, listen, yeah, your boxing career is done. No more boxing for you. I'm like, okay. It's not a vehicle, but it is what it is. That's life. So I accepted it and I started gymming. Went to the gym. Also, my father took me to the gym. A guy that's there, listen here, you're going to train with Ryno. He's like, Saki, here's my training partner. My father, I see you. Done. I'm like, okay. So I started training with a guy called Paul. Yeah, went on the juice, got duck, got frisk, got big. I enjoyed it.
Did you want to bodybuild? Or was it just an ego thing?
Yeah, so I was small always, and Maren, this tiny oak. And then I said, no, I'm going to do this. And I became thick. The heaviest I was 103 kilograms. Yeah, and then life started. I met my wife at college. And then she was in the paint business already. So I just fell into that, started working for my brother-in-law, eventually got my own shop. And then you get bored with life. Like gymming gets boring. There's no, you can't achieve anything unless you do shows, which is very hard. You need the right body structure and all of that. And then, yeah, I heard Gert Strydom opened his pro boxing gym in Newlands. One of my friends told me, I said, okay, let me go and check it out.
Have you ever been offered juice as a pro boxer, or do you think guys take it?
Definitely. I've been in the juice game. I've been in the gym game. I've been in the boxing game. I've checked the physique some of these oaks have in boxing. They 100% take steroids. They take steroids, they take growth, they take everything. They just do it at the right time with the right people behind them. But most definitely, they juice.
Were you ever offered juice? Did you ever take juice in your pro career?
So no, I never took juice, although I could have, because I know everything, well, and most of, 90% of juice I know. I turned pro late, so 27. So I had a limited time and I wanted to box. So I kept it straight and narrow. No time for playing games or causing shit, just box. And so I never took a chance.
How did you turning pro come about?
So I think in 2007, I got bored with the gym and I went back to the amateur club, boxed with Tommy Oosthuizen, and we went to national teams. So I won Gauteng, got disqualified at the essays for hitting the oak after the ref said stop. But
did you?
Yeah. So he will tell you I did. I think it was questionable because the ref stood like, they gave us the smallest ref and he stood like 4 meters away from us. And like, stop. Wow. So I don't, yeah, and you wear a head guard. And then we went to national trials in Bloemfontein. Also me and Tommy, I think Jason Bederman was also there, Robbie Lombard. And me and Tommy both got draws. And then we got an immersive street fight after the boxing. Because I sat there, these burkies here from Bloemfontein. And I can't even remember how it started. I remember one oak had a pit bull, and then we banged him, and Robbie banged a few oaks. It was a big fight. And then we left. So then they all turned pro. Tommy Oosthuizen turned pro, Jason Bederman turned pro, and I said, I'm done with boxing. There's no pro clubs in the West Rand. It's done. So I got into the gym again, started juicing. Then one of my friends told me Gert Strydom opened a pro boxing club in Newlands, which wasn't too far from where I live. And the one day I told my wife, listen, I think it was November, I'm going to go and check this out. So I went there, told him who I was. He said, listen here, you can box. So I'm 27. He says, doesn't matter, you can box. Start training next year. I said, okay. So that December I started running. January came, I went to his gym. And that's it.
Did you have to go for your license?
No, I went for pro sparring for my license. Yeah. I did the pro sparring thing. And then my first fight came, or it was signed. And then I slipped a disc in my back. I had to pull out of my first fight. I'm like, and then I got over it. And then my first fight came. It was on the undercard of Mikey Schultz and Denay Madritzo. Big fight at Wembley Stadium.
I remember that fight.
Yes.
What did it feel like going into the ring as your first pro fight? For your first pro fight?
You know, he sat there in the toilet. I remember sitting there, did all the work, everything. Now it's time to go. So Gert's got this thing where he rubs you on the chest. So we walk out all mean. Okay, we get into the ring. And now those lights are on you. And that's so hot. I stood there. I'm like, I'm going to faint. I'm going to pass out before this oak even hits me. I'm like, yeah. And Gert's rubbing me on the chest. Don't worry, just roll this oak. Just do what we did. I'm like, okay. We go, we shake hands, we walk back. Gert says, remember, box. I said, okay. And then as soon as the bell goes and you throw the first jab, you do what you need to do. It's boxing. You did the training.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, you did the training. Then it's just get over the nerves and do what you need to do and fight.
Would you describe yourself as a boxer or a fighter?
I think a bit of both. So I'm not the best boxer, but I'm not the worst boxer. And I'm also not the best fighter, but also not the worst. So my style is like fighting boxing. I say it's something like that.
You went on and you had a few fights winning. You went 4 years, I think it's 17 fights before you had your first loss in Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
You must have thought you were really on
top
on
of
the road.
world. Yeah, so I had a hard boxing career. My first fight I fought Tsepang Male.
Put you down in round 1.
Listen, the SA champ.
Yeah.
I got into Gert says, listen, this I can bang. I'm like, okay, how hard can you really eat? Yeah. He hits me with a left hook. It felt like somebody shocked you with electricity. Like, on the floor. Luckily, I was fit, got up, okay. Second round, we're rolling. I caught him. Something happened to his leg and he fell over and I got a breather. The third round, this oak hits me with an uppercut. I woke up the end of round 5. So those 9 minutes are out of my life.
But you made the counter.
Yes, no, round 3 I didn't go down. So he hit me with an uppercut and I hit a blank. The end of round 5, I remember Keith Russ throwing water on my head. And Gert's like, Ryno, you need to do something. Roll this oak. I'm like, okay, I'm still here. Yeah, okay, I'm still boxing. This oak knocked out Johnny Miller the previous fight. So he hasn't knocked me out. Okay, I'm just going to run. So I made the decision. And then I caught him with a massive override. Boom, down he goes. I remember praying every single count. I'm like, 1, please, God, stay down. 2, yeah, how long is this counting? 3, I'm like, yeah, this is the longest count ever. And 8, he got up, but he was wonky. 9, 10, and out. Yeah, and then my boxing career took off.
Because Tsepang at the time was the big thing. He was like the next big fighter to come out of South Africa.
Well, he was the super middleweight and light heavyweight world champion.
Yeah.
Not world
Everyone
champion.
was expecting
South
big
African
things
champion. Knocked out Johnny Miller for the South African title. Yeah, he was, I think I got 1,000 rand a round for that fight, 8,000 rand. And I remember he got 40,000. And the only reason I know that is he didn't make weight. So he weighed 84 and our fight limit was 79. So I got 25% of his purse, which was 10,000. So I got more from his money than I got offered for the fight.
You remember what you got paid for your first fight?
3,000. 3,000, 3,000, 4,000, and then 5,000.
Your last fight?
How much I got?
Yeah.
In rands?
Yeah.
500K.
Okay. So, I mean, it's not bad. It's a good step up.
For an 8-round fight.
Yeah, that's good, eh?
So I went on, I beat Johnny Miller. So I have to tell you this. So when I fought Johnny Miller, the day of the weigh-in, I got flu, but like proper flu. So I had a fever of 40 the day of the weigh-in. The day of the fight, 39.7. And we're sitting there, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I phone call and he says, how are you feeling? I said, I feel all right, but I've got a massive, I'm sick. I'm not feeling great. He says, okay, well, what do you want? I said, I'm coming. So as me and Neil, we're driving so we had this thing where we drive to Empress Palace. Me and Neil, music pumping. Now this time, no music, no nothing. We are sitting there. I've got ice packs on my head, on my neck. I'm shivering with fever. I'm like, yeah. And Neil's there, all teary-eyed. We're like, I don't know what to do. Get into the room. I tell Colin. He says, oh, well, I must tell him now. We need to make a decision. And I remember my father walked in. He said, Ryno, what's wrong? I told him. He said, listen, we're going to fight or you're going to pull out. I said, no, I'm going to fight. Okay, that's it. End of story. You're fighting. No more. I'm like, okay. And that's it. And then I knocked Johnny out in round 7 or 8.
She's dangerous, eh?
Who?
To go into a fight with that type of temperature.
It is, but I did so much work. The amount of work that I put in, I took a month off work. the amount of training. That's why Neil also, he was so emotional because he knew, we all knew the work that we put in for that fight, just to put out sword.
I think that's where most boxers get hurt, is where they should pull out, but they don't.
Yes, you can't
because of that.
Yeah, you can't. It's you're a fighter. You fight the fights that's there. Then I had lots of easy fight, good knockouts. I had 3 fights where I knocked all 3 guys out in 1 round. So I won the WBC international title with a knockout in the first round. So I had 3 consecutive, and then I fought Denis Grachev for the WBC silver title. And I should have knocked him out. I was supposed to knock him out. In round 1, we clashed heads, and I got a cut over my eye, but a proper cut. I remember going back to the corner and I'm telling Colin, listen, yeah, I can't see out of my eye. The blood's running onto my eyeball, so it's red. Colin checks me, says, listen, yeah, you've got 2 eyes. Deal with it. I'm like, okay. Yeah, and then round 4, I almost had him. And then for some other reason, I just didn't pull the trigger. But I beat him on points quite comfortably, but I should have knocked him out.
You went to Monte Carlo, your first trip overseas, your first loss. You had 17 fights in 4 years, undefeated.
So, Monte Carlo, yeah, it was a guy, I thought a guy was 2-3 levels above me. So, if I could change one thing in my career, I would have had that fight 2 years later. But the fight was there. I was on top of the world. I had the top 10 ranking in all 4 the big organizations. I was there, and you feel undefeatable. And then after the second uppercut, I'm like, oh no. And then you're trying, because with all your might, listen, I need to do something. I need to work. I need to bang and it's not working. Everything you do, he's got an answer for. And then he's 2 steps ahead of you. And I think it was around 7 or 8. He hit me 1, 2, and my whole face burst open.
Around 7, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I felt the top of my eyelid falling onto my bottom. I'm like, okay, I know it's done. It was a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. I remember seeing the photos after the fight. Both your eyes were closed.
I remember the following day sitting in the bus. I'm like, what happened? What did I do wrong? Why didn't it work? And then as you get older and you check the fight over and over again, you realize all the mistakes that you made.
You know, hindsight's easy to
Then you see, listen, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? That's stupid. You see the mistakes. So I lost to the better guy on the night. Yeah, he completely outclassed me from start to finish. Became a WBO world champion. Yeah. So it's not against the pop. It's against one of the best in the world.
Then your next fight, you get back to South Africa, you got to fight Tommy, who I rate as probably the most skillful boxer to ever come out of South Africa.
Probably one of the most talented ever. Yeah. Ever. So they didn't want that fight. So Rodney Berman, I went to Rodney and said, listen, I want to fight Tommy. He's like, let me just give you one stay busy fight, like a warm-up fight, and then you fight Tommy. I said, no, I want to fight Tommy now. He said, are you sure? I said, yes. Tommy's next fight, when he fights for the IBO world title, I'll get in the ring, I'll challenge him. He said, okay. And that's it.
What was your relationship like with Tommy?
So me and Tommy's always been friends because we've come from the amateurs. But so because we were opponents in the gym, it doesn't make us enemies. And that's what people don't realize. Being opponents, me and Johnny Miller are very good mates. Being opponents and being enemies are 2 different things. But on the night, I want to kill him.
So you guys were friends after the fight as well?
Yeah, we still talk when we see each other. He stays in a different area to where I live, so we don't really see each other. But when we do, we greet each other, we talk, we have a few laughs. A good guy.
Yeah. You then had 1 win and then 3 losses in a row.
So
it must make you doubt your ability or your career a little bit, I think.
So then I went to Sweden, fought Erik Skoglund, a guy I beat from pillar to post. I hit him so hard. After the fight, when I went to dope testing, he went to the hospital. And yet I lost. So Was he a good boxer? Yes. Did I lose that fight? I don't think so. So, hard pill to swallow, took it on the chin. Then I got another offer against Enrico Cooling, a German guy. Went, fought this oak. So I landed more punches in that fight than he threw. I landed 396 punches on him over 12 rounds. So, leading up to that fight, let me tell you a story about that fight. Leading up to that fight, Enrico Cooling, I had sparring, so I popped 2 ribs in sparring. So a popped rib is when the rib breaks out of the cavity. So it doesn't break, it breaks out of whatever it's in. Almost died. Wanted to pull out. I'm like, I'm going to fight this out with this thing. I'm just going to run. The 4th round, he hits me with a straight right in this rib that I pissed in my pants in the ring. I'm like, yeah, I'm keeping face. I'm like tough, but the piss is running down my legs. I'm like, yeah. I go back to the corner and Colin says, bro, just piss your pants. I'm like, yes. He says, okay, just run. I'm like, I'm running. So, yeah, and I won that fight. Like I said, I landed more punches than that I threw, and I lost.
So that fight, you lost on a split decision. Tommy, you lost on a split decision. How frustrating is your performance in the hands of others, referees and judges, for you as a boxer?
So in my entire life, I've always been good, but I'm almost like one step short. Oh, I don't know why. It's like part of my life. I just need more luck or something. Yeah, so it gets frustrating. After a while, you doubt yourself. Listen, can I still do this? Can I campaign at this level? Can I do something? And then, you either accept it. So either it takes you to the next level or it brings you down. So I said, no, I'm going to train. I want to fight. I want to box. And that's it.
Why didn't you have a rematch with Tommy?
It never came to the cards. So then I started traveling international. Colin and Rodney split. They had their scrap. And then we had different routes, different lives.
Do you think your career went on too long? Do you think you should have stopped maybe a year or two sooner?
So the last 3 fights I had was all unnecessary. The last 3, most definitely. Shouldn't have. So after my fight in Russia, I was ready to retire, ready to call it. Listen, I gave it everything. And then I got offered quite an easy fight. And then I made decent money. So it's a lot of money, especially when you work in business and you know how much money it is. So I said, let me take it. So I took a fight, won an 8-rounder against a guy I should have knocked out in 2. Then I was on the hunting field. I was hunting, drinking beer. So I don't dope really, but you do hunting, have a dope or 2. Then I got a call from Sean Smith. Listen, we've got this fight, but it's in 4 weeks. I'm like, shit, okay, I'll take it. Get back to the gym, speak to Colin, because Colin's busy training Leroy to Dlamini for the WBC silver title fight. He can't train. I said, okay, cool. I'm going to Gert. Gert will help me. So I didn't even spar once. All I did was trying to make weight for that fight. Went there, fought a guy with a proper pedigree, a real amateur, strong. First round, he pumps me with a right hand in the chest. I thought my heart burst. I go to the corner. Like, what's wrong? Can't breathe. My heart. From a right hand, I'm like, okay. So I just ran. Last round, he catches me with an over-under, but proper. But the time was done and I lost. 10 rounds. Then I got a fight against another Olympian, but I was still concussed from that fight. And I'm like, okay, Neil, you're going to take me. We're not even taking a trainer. I'm not even going to really go for it. I went for sparring once with Rowan Campbell. It shocked me like twice, Rowan. I'm like, okay, something's not right in my head. No more sparring. Now I'm just training.
Yeah, because you beat Rowan, eh?
Yeah. So there were a few, and then I went for that fight. After the first jab, it feels like somebody shocks you with electricity. And then I knew, listen, we've got big problems. Something's not right. And then I think he stopped me in round 3. First and only knockout, like proper knockout that I ever had.
You spoke of Tommy Oosthuizen and the fact that you guys are mates. You also came up against another friend of yours, Alfonso Thyssen. How tough was that fight? Because I think it played a bit of an emotional role in your
So
life. That.
if I regret one fight in my boxing career, it's that one. I never should have taken that fight. No, Tommy is an elite athlete. When he's got all the attributes except discipline to be a great, and he lost it. So I was offered the fight with Alfonso, one of my sparring partners for many years. And sparring and boxing is not the same. And I said no initially. I said, listen, I don't want to fight Alfonso. I told Rodney and him, listen, they won't take the fight. Rodney phones me back the following day. They taking the fight. Alfonso, I said, no, I'm not going to take it. Alfonso phones me. Ryno, put pen to paper. I want this fight. I need the money. I want the money. I'm like, Alfonso, we are mates, and this is real boxing. This isn't sparring. No, do it. I'm like, okay. Are you sure? Yes. So I took the fight. Yeah, and I believe that fight damaged Alfonso beyond repair. He's never been the same. I hear he's a hobo somewhere. I don't know if he's turned his life around. We never see him. So if there's one fight that I regret, it's that fight.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility
Yes.
for that?
Yes, most definitely. You know, in that fight, during the fight, I could see Alfonso fading. And I looked over to Gert's corner, and you could see they're trying, but it's not working. And then luckily, Gert stopped the fight eventually. So, yeah, I do feel some sort of responsibility because, you know, it's one of your mates, and now you've damaged him beyond repair. That's not a good feeling.
Would you want any of your kids to box?
No. My son does do a little bit of boxing training. So I said, listen, I can't teach you rugby. I can, but you want to learn, I can teach you how to box because that's what I know.
But you don't want him to walk that path like you did?
No, so my son's like extremely clever. So he does very well in school.
Everything you're not.
Yeah, so he does very well in school. He's like a proper, gets 90% plus on his report card. So yeah, he must study. So one of my good mates always tells, because my son he's not big in sports, but one of my good mates, a proper businessman who's very wealthy, who's made it in life, always tells him, Johnsy, that's what we call him, Johnsy, just remember one thing. One day all the sports stars work for the Clever Oaks.
Yeah, and it's true, eh?
So that kind
Eventually.
of helps him.
Yeah. Your relationship with Gert?
Yeah, so
On off, he was your trainer, then you went to Colin, then you went back to Gert.
So this is the story. So I was with Gert for 5 fights. Then Gert's life kind of took a turn for the worse. He had some personal issues he had to sort, and it wasn't in my boxing plan to be with a coach who's got issues and stories. He sorted it out, and he came back, and he did a great job. He's got a life altogether, but on that specific time, he wasn't all there. So I joined Colin. Yeah, and you can't buy loyalty. It's something you either have or you don't. And I stuck with Colin. We had good fights, many fights. And then when he couldn't train me for a specific fight, I tell him, listen, Colin, I'm going to go with Gert. He's going to help me. Okay, cool. And I go to Gert. We train. Gert takes me overseas. So I had 2 fights overseas with Gert as well, 5 fights in South Africa. And we had a jaw. And Gert and Colin helped me with my fight against Patrick Mukala. So I've had a good relationship. I've been blessed to have a good relationship with both of them. It's lifelong friends. It's people that's part of your life for the rest of your life.
I see you still hang around with Gert now. Are you involved in any of his boxing or any of his setup?
So we know Kaina. So Kaina's he's up and coming K9. Good boxer. Universal's getting behind him as well with sponsorship. So I still see my brother-in-law Neil helps in the corners. And I go to them for advice. So I've got a guy that I'm training. His name's Clifford Lowe. He's making his pro debut the 9th of March. So I go to Gert and Colin because I need advice. You need mentors, and they're the people that know. And Rodney's promoting the fight. Also, you need to go where the people that you know. So all these people were part of my life for so long. and now they're helping me with the next step.
Do you see yourself staying involved in boxing?
I don't know. It's very hard. It's very hard to train somebody and to teach him something and to try and lift his natural abilities instead of trying to force your abilities on him. It's hard if you were a boxer to teach another boxer, because you've got a set work ethic, and then that's what you expect. And so it's not easy. You've got the knowledge and the ability. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how time goes.
If you had to come back for one last fight, who would you like?
Who? Yeah, I don't know. Kevin Lerena.
You reckon you take him?
No, Kevin's on top of the world at the moment. No, I don't think I'll ever come back for one last fight. I always thought about one last fight in South Africa, for the crowd. If it's an exhibition fight, but it's too risky with my family. I've got a growing family, so no, I'm done. I had a good run. I had good laughs. I made good friends, like you, like everybody, lifetime friends, and I enjoyed it.
Ryno, thanks for your time.
Sure.
Always great catching up.
Thanks for having me.